Hey, Anna Thinker, how's it going?
Hey everybody, how we doing? Good,
Not
good.
bad. I'll be honest, I'm a bit hungover. Good.
I was thinking that you were probably going to be a bit hungover today. Funny that.
Yeah, well, you were right.
That's okay. That's all right. Just own it.
I so rarely get to go to drink, so I took advantage yesterday. Had a little Dow o'clock event at ETH Toronto. Did a terrible job of marketing or grabbing the things that I needed to grab out of it, but we'll try to make that a little bit better today. We'll see.
That's the problem, right? You go to these events and you have all the best intentions of just like, cards and shill. And then you end up in conversations, you chat with somebody, they introduce you to somebody. And before you know it, the day's over and you're like, shit, I still got cards to hand out or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even the cards as much as like I was supposed to take pictures of the group, but luckily I had Mean Brains with me and he was doing like interviews the entire time, so we got some good Bankless Card content for sure.
Good stuff.
Awesome. GM, everybody.
Yeah, coffee
Yeah,
pressure.
thanks. I wanted to say you're doing a great job. I thought repping Bankless Card. I know that everybody was chatting a little bit about everything, but I kept bringing it back to Bankless Card. It seemed like everybody I talked to.
Nice. That's awesome. Thanks for that.
Were you there as well, Tom?
Yeah, I popped in just for the evening, not for the ETH event, but just for the social. Just to meet up with a few people and get a little practice for permissionless coming up next month.
If you like that conference kind of socializing, you do need some practice for that in general. I haven't been to a conference in a couple of years, so getting back into it is a good thing. All right, well, why don't we get started on the weekly call for Bankless Card? We have a lot of good news going on, but before we get into it, I'll just mention that this is our weekly all-team tactical meeting. So this is the meeting that we use to sync up on all the work that's going on around the Bankless Card org. We're going to try to prioritize that work for the next week and eliminate blockers. Just take a quick attendance while we got everyone here. Ooh, great turnout today. Grab that. Stick it in the meeting notes. All right. Lag metrics. So this is what we're trying to achieve, but maybe don't change on a week-to-week basis. For the lag and lead metrics in general, I did not update the meeting notes with the discussion that we talked about yesterday. Last week, not yesterday, but this is what we got so far. Pre-launch emails is still one of the things that we're interested in, plus 10 from last week. And 1% ready to launch our proof of concept. I just put 1% there as kind of a placeholder. I actually don't know how far we are to our proof of concept, but 1% sounded safe-ish. So I put that there, but that's kind of like the idea of the top level metrics as we kind of decided last week that we're going to be gearing up to launch a proof of concept. That's what we're trying to accomplish. That's what we're going to be rallying behind. So I wanted to put that metric up there and kind of like assign it to someone, me, so that there's some accountability and some direction on what we're doing. Every week, I'm going to see this number, and so I'm going to be incentivized to make this number go up. And so as I'm directing the kind of work that I'm working on, and maybe some other people are working on, the idea is that this will keep me honest and keep our team on track. So that's kind of where we're at, but to actually have a really good number for that, I need to break down the work on a POC and put some estimates against what we're trying to achieve, which I haven't done. So that's just a placeholder for now. Lead metrics, I'm hoping that we will have like a lead metric for every single person who has a role in Bankless Card. So that is the idea behind this is that everyone, Anna Thinker, Rainis, Hazu, potentially other people who are getting roles soon will have a metric that they're going to report on a weekly basis too, for the same reason, essentially, right? So that week over week, we have some direction on what these people are trying to achieve, and we can kind of have some accountability to ourselves and to each other. So that's the intent behind these. I will try to update these this week so that next week when I'm on vacation, And if Thinker, you can kind of pop on these without having too much thinking to do, let's say.
Did you say that's next week?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So a few team-wide announcements. Payroll went out last week. You can check the EtherScan link there to see what you got. We also got our first offer of service since the crash, the FTX crash, and all that other kind of not fun stuff. But this is amazing news. Basically, the U.S. regulatory environment was shunning all potential crypto projects, and we got an offer of service. Shows that it is possible to launch this card in the U.S., which is kind of vital for us as we are able to potentially make way more revenue in the U.S. than at other places. So really great news. We still have to do some negotiation on this, but overall, getting that offer of service in general shows that a card provider is willing to potentially take us on. Really good news. I already mentioned. Oh, sorry. Was there a question or comment? Oh, hey, Apotieri. Can I ask you to mute for just a second, and then we will get down into our new member intros after these announcements, and maybe you can introduce yourself after that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. All right. As I mentioned before, the meeting notes in Asana are not updated with the stuff we talked about last week, but don't worry, I'm going to try to get it done this week. And reminder that I'm on vacation next week, and if Thinker is going to be handling this meeting, so that's where we're at. Next up, we have new member intros. We have a few new members. Thierry, would love for you to unmute yourself, tell us who you are, what brings you here to Bankless Card, and what, if anything, would you like to contribute?
Yeah, I'm a porter from West Africa. I'm still new to Bankless now. I'm a Web3 writer.
Nice. Well, if you want to write some articles for Bankless Card as well, there is lots of opportunity to do that. But I guess I'm wondering, Apotieri, what brings you to Bankless Card? Have you heard anything about Bankless Card before?
Not really. I'm still looking forward to you guys to learn something from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. To learning more. Nice. And I think we also have Kolaid. Oh, Kolaid was here. Kolaid, are you able to speak? Do you want to speak and introduce yourself to the group? Give you a couple seconds, Kolaid. Okay. No, it's okay. Oh, invite to speak. Oh, you coming up, Kolaid? You can click on a button at the bottom, which is kind of like join the stage. It's sometimes hard to find on mobile. You really have to scroll. There you go. Hey, Kolaid, how's it going? How are you doing? Who are you? What brings you to Bankless Card? And what would you like to contribute, if anything?
I'm a graphic designer. I've got a little bit about Bankless Card, and I had some opportunities to work on projects, visual design, and that stuff. Yeah, I guess it.
All right, it was a little bit difficult to hear you, but I did write something down from what I think I heard. But yeah, if you're able to move your mic in a spot where we can hear you maybe a little bit better, or just verify what I wrote down, either way works for me.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Kolaid.
Yeah, I think what you realize is okay. That's a summary of it. I've been in Bankless Card now. It used to be too much time.
Yeah, it's really hard to hear you, Kolaid. Sorry about that. But if you want, you can kind of maybe say it in the chat, and then we can learn a little bit more about you. Really important, I think, to make new members feel welcome. So I really want to make sure that Apotieri and Kolaid, as you're coming to check out Bankless Card, if you do feel like contributing, if you're interested in what you see, feel free to reach out to me or talk in the chat, or I'll also put the Bankless Card, general channel in there. You can go ahead and pop into there and ask questions if you like as well. BCard, start here. Here we go. Also check that out. All right, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate the two of you coming out and looking down at our milestones. Of course, we are going to be changing this as we go forward, but for now, it's still a good way to look at the work that's going on around the organization. So first up, how are we going to finance building this product? And essentially, we're looking at financing building a proof of concept first. One of the things that came out of that meeting with Transcard last week is there is a deal on the table that could allow us to start a card program for less than $10,000. And we have more than $10,000 in the multi-sig right now. So, you know, the downside of this is that we'd have to have a whole bunch of bank sell pressure, but like the idea of being able to launch a card program for less than $10,000 is really, really amazing. We haven't had a deal like this before. We are looking at minimums of like $50,000 to $100,000. Now there are some provisos with that $10,000, including the fact that it does not include software licenses, hosting, or our time, but it could be a way for us to get a proof of concept up. And another thing is that that the interchange revenues don't kick in until we get a certain amount of scale. So it may be difficult for us to get communities on with this particular offer, but as I said, we're still in the negotiation phases, so it's still possible that we could negotiate something that's going to alleviate that last point. But in general, I mean, the order of magnitude for $10,000, that's an order of magnitude less than what we said. So that is really interesting. It could be that we don't need any financing, and that would be really, really interesting. But we have to kind of keep going forward, and we shall see. Next up, grants. We have a Gitcoin grant up. You may have had a bunch of people around Bankless DAO kind of share their Gitcoin projects. We applied to be part of this round too, but our application is still in review. So I'm hoping that before the end of the round runs until the end of August. So, you know, we still have time to get in the round. Obviously, we want to get in earlier rather than later so that we can get some of people who are kind of donating to the round early. We can get some of their matching funds. Hey, NF Thinker, I see that you unmuted.
Yeah, I had a DM from Jenga Jojo this morning. Apparently, Gitcoin messaged him and asked him what we have to do with community education. So I went back and I kind of grabbed the bits from the requirements page or the eligibility page, which I felt were most pertinent to us, helping grow communities. And what was the other one? There was another main point. DAO's focused on onboarding new users and mentioned that we would be, you know, helping grow communities and onboard non-Web3 users. So he has fed that back to the Gitcoin team, and we are waiting to hear back.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you following up on this because I was kind of like, do we just wait? Do we have to follow up?
Yeah, they did get in touch with him because he's our main point of contact with Gitcoin now.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, thanks, NF Thinker. I really appreciate that. I was kind of like looking at this morning and like, what do we do next? So I'm glad that you took the next step without me. Decentralization for the win. Not tomorrow, next week. We also submitted our Gnosis grant application. So Gnosis Chain gives grants to people building on Gnosis Chain. And if we are going to be working with Gnosis Pay, then we could potentially get a grant to do that. And so this is another route to our POC. I believe, NF Thinker, you're setting up a meeting with them for next week. I won't be able to make it next week, unfortunately, because I'm on vacation. But do you want to handle this yourself? Or I could potentially make it on Friday. But either way, just something to note.
Okay. I mean, unless you wanted to set one up for tomorrow, I can do tomorrow if that's any good.
So tomorrow could be okay. I will have the kids with me. So I mean, I could definitely be there, but I may not be able to like take notes or, you know, give my full 100% undivided attention.
Yeah, I think that would be better than not being there.
Okay, great. Let's do tomorrow. Tomorrow or Friday. Sorry, I meant Friday next week or tomorrow or Friday this week. Anyways, if you can set up either of those, that would be great.
I'll be traveling this Friday.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think just it would be best to have you there as soon as how you're the champion and you've done the submission and you know all the ins and outs, both operationally, community, what we can and can't. And I'm up to speed, but
Okay, yeah, absolutely no problem. I prefer to be there myself as well, right? So if you can set it up for when we can both be there, that will work great. Um, Looking down, we also have our safe grants. They're now live. So next step from DAO Stewards was basically to create a little chat GPT prompt based on some of the information that we have for Bankless Card, give it to DAO Stewards, and they're going to write a grant proposal for us. So excited about that. On the crowdfund side, no progress at all. Although I did see Elephant kind of sneak in the back there. We just passed our new member intros, but Elephant, since I see you here on stage, I'd love if you're able to unmute. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what brings you here, and what would you like to contribute, if anything.
And made me realize I could contribute to Web3, even as a non-developer. And I am into project management and product management. So talking with Yasu, when I met her in East Barcelona, I wanted to help out. And I will be helping her with interviews and probably the MVP for the app with the Figma. I forgot how they are called.
Clickable prototypes, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very happy to be here to learn and to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Anaphant. I really appreciate that you're here. We can always use a little bit more product management and project management. It's always something that can help us a lot as we're trying to wrangle all of these cats around the world. So thank you for being here and appreciate you unmuting and telling us about yourself, even though I put you on the spot. And look, you already contributed to Bankless Card by unmuting, so that's great. All right, what is the go-to market strategy? NF Thinker, do you want to tell us a little bit about the partnership side?
yeah, we discussed last week coming up with some classification. Let me just bring up this Asana. So segmentation. That's what we're looking to do. So we have talked about. I mean, a few weeks ago we were talking about SMDs, small to medium DAOs. That's where we would really like to be there. That's where we're going to have a lot of impact. However, to launch a proof of concept, we're going to have to partner with some really big names. The banks want to see big numbers, as you know. We spoke with Jack from B4U last week or this week, whenever that was this week, and he said 12 billion is not going to move the meter for them. The number $12 billion to them is nothing. They want to see big numbers. If we're looking at $1 trillion marketplace, 12 billion out of that is nothing. So essentially, we're looking for some bigger communities to partner with, and DAO segmentation would mean that we could partner with, say, 2 or 3 communities from each different segment of the market. So we could have social DAOs, DeFi DAOs, media DAOs. I get the feeling that gaming DAOs are going to be a popular one. There are some DAOs out there in gaming which are really big. Winverse worked out a list about a month ago, and a couple of the DAOs in there were gaming DAOs, and they have over 100 million in assets under management. So that is, or over 100 million market cap, I should say. I don't want to say assets under management because, you know, whatever their token value is, that's going to come into that. So if we can look at some segments, get 2 or 3 or up to 5 DAOs within each segment and cover those segments, then we can both figure out which segments are going to be best for us to partner with. And we can trial it with those communities. So I have created a bit of a DAO hit list where we can get things started, and double down on that, and figure out who exactly we're going to partner with.
Sweet.
I think Rarible would be fantastic. Yeah, if you want to set something up there, I have had some meetings with them in the past, in conjunction with Human DAO, which they went well, all things considered. Nothing ever came out of it. But yeah, it would be great to connect with Rarible. Who was the other one you said? I'm not sure of Silo. No. Yeah, I think that would be great to do that. And also on the NFT side, I'm connected with 8DAO now, so I've been speaking with them. So yeah, trying to get some bigger names lined up.
Yeah, that 8DAO community is intense here in Toronto. Like they're out in force and they are having fun. Let's just say that.
Nice. Yeah, and those are the types of people we really want, right? Those are the people
Yeah,
who
super
are
engaged.
very engaged, obviously wealthy if they've got, if they can afford to hold $100,000 NFT in their wallet. So yeah, communities like that I think would be ideal.
Well,
I have a question. And I think, so how big, what's in size, or it doesn't even have to be active members. So what size of communities do you are they sort of identifying as big?
I think we were speaking recently about how many members we would want to sign up from each community, and we were thinking around the 200 mark. If we could get 200 active members to sign up from each community, which means if we have a 10% uptake, then 2,000 people. So a 2,000 member community would
2,000 member, yeah.
yes,
Like a
yeah,
10%.
around about there, I think.
Got it.
And we
sorry,
also
2,000 members you're saying?
Yeah, I think if larger DAOs with approximately 2,000 members plus, but we also need to consider the fact that a lot of the people who are members of these bigger DAOs will also be members of our other large DAOs. So we might find some crossover there. This is something to keep in mind.
All right, awesome. And I think, yeah, Coffee Crusher, Rainus and I also had a big discussion around potential partnerships during the communication call last Thursday as well. So Coffee Crusher is going to be working on some outreach. So if you want to collabo and if they go with Coffee Crusher, I think that could be good use of your time. All right, and next up we have communication. How's this going, Rainus?
Content production is our current focus. This week we have lined up the interview with the Gnosis Pay CEO, which is going to go in public, and on the meanwhile, me and Andy have been filming videos for all of the articles that we have. So yeah, content production, so we can up our social game in the following months. Yeah, also the new SMD campaign, which we talked about last Thursday, that Coffee Crusher is working on. Hopefully that gives us more engagement with the SMDs, small to medium DAOs. Also, the Bankless Ambassadors Program, the Spanish node has their own landing page set up, and so we'll see what the turnouts are once they start posting. We have East Toronto currently going on with our own champion at the front of it. This morning I checked, there are already 4 signups. So I hope that is going well, Lee. And then, yeah, I don't know. We have a lot of movement in progress. The content machine is chugging along, and all seems to be well. We need to up our emails per week numbers, but that's going to happen eventually.
Awesome. That's amazing. And I think like Coffee Crusher, you were working on like SMD outreach. Is that correct? We just kind of mentioned it, but did you want to give a little update on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like now thinking about, like, I need to connect up with a thinker and sort of see, you know, like where that ties in, because, you know, if we're talking about, because originally it was like sort of identifying it for the POC or doing marketing campaigns that would sort of coincide with the POC, but I have to sort of have a little of a conversation to see how that fits in, and if it does fit in. It might be like a parallel project that we go after for marketing. We go after SMBs. I don't know.
Yeah, it may be parallel effort, but if you guys want to sync up, it could work as well.
Yeah, I just want to sort of understand the strategy, and then sort of like making sure it's not, you know, I'm sort of thinking opposite of what we should be doing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, that whole SMD thing, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a major impact there. However, what we need to consider is for every community that we launch with, there's going to be an extra cost, because we'll have to launch a separate program for each community. That will come with marketing costs, that will come with design costs, that will come with the cost of actually launching the program. So what we need to focus on initially is finding aligned groups with larger member counts, so we can offset more of that initial cost.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's exactly when we said that. I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I get it.
I think that, like, you know, these SMDs are who we're really trying to hit, because ultimately they're the ones who could benefit the most from the card. But to hit these SMDs, we need to do some of these other kinds of DAOs. So I guess like this SMD, like, and anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about when I say SMD, small to medium DAO, it is this SMD is a long-term strategy for us. So I do see, like, regardless of what NF Thinker is doing, to help us pick like who will be on the POC, I still think that we should be forging connections with these SMDs anyways. So like I do think it's like, in some ways it's a parallel effort that like has some connection with what NF Thinker is working on, but essentially NF Thinker is narrowing down to 3 to 5 communities that we're going to launch a proof of concept with, and Coffee Crusher is forging long-term relationships with DAOs or with SMDs, whatever we want to call them. So like, it's kind of like NF Thinker's role right now, or NF Thinker's like directive right now is like a little bit more short term, and Coffee Crusher, you're thinking a little bit more long term. Does that make sense? And I know,
yeah, totally,
right? But yeah.
Yeah, that actually clarifies it a lot. Yes, I get it, because I mean our ultimate audience, our ideal audience, is the SMBs. Like, well, in terms of biggest bang for the buck for those DAOs, because those are the ones that struggle with raising funding, and so they will see how BCard will help them having to always trying to write grants and trying to get money. So yeah, that helps a lot. I still want to hook up with a thinker, if that's okay, just sort of make sure I'm aligned, and I have an idea of some, like BFF is one of the ones I'm thinking about, because they just announced that they announce partnerships all the time on their channel, which I'm a member of. So I'm thinking, oh, this is perfect, because they are kind of open to relationships, and they have 2,500 members or something like that. I don't know how many are active.
Which group is this?
BFF.
Oh, BFF. Okay, yeah, interesting.
Sorry, where I said it.
Yeah, another group you might want to check into is like the Dow Relationships Guild, and NF Thinker and Winverse are both members of that guild, if I'm not mistaken, right? So Coffee Crusher, if you want, like they have every week they have one or two products that are coming in, but like as well they have connections with like many different DAOs across the DAOverse, right? So even internally, there's a lot of groups.
Which one was that?
Dow Relationships. I'll write it down in the meeting notes.
Right.
Yeah, there's actually a separate server now for relationships, so I'll send you an invite for that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, BFF is one that I was thinking of as well. I don't know that they have a token though, right? And so this
I don't think so.
This brings up a question because another community I was thinking of is Nouns DAO. They have
Yes, I was thinking about Nouns too.
major alignment, but they don't have a token. So
and they don't need a token right now either, but like NF Thinker, one thing we could do with Nouns DAO that we wouldn't, like if we align with someone internally at Nouns and apparently we can get a contact from Meme Brains, we could, instead of giving people token, we could give them swag or something, which is what Nouns DAO people are kind of interested in anyways.
Yeah, same with BFF actually.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think we need to kind of think outside the box with our reward system. Our initial proof of concept isn't going to be on-chain rewards anyway. It's going to be just points on the ledger because of how we have to do it in order to be compliant. And that's initially, we'll eventually get to the state where we can reward people with on-chain tokens the moment they spend. Hopefully that will be all built into the system. But for now, we're going to have to just keep this ledger. Now, the ledger is going to be redeemable for whatever those points are. And if we can make that swag, we can make it merch, that would be totally cool. And then also we could still feed the DAO treasury, right? We can still help them grow their community by paying them cash rewards in order to feed the DAO treasury.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's lots of possibilities, but what we really need to do is have our internal champion at each of these communities, because those champions are going to be the ones who really understand what the community wants and how we can make that happen. And then, with Nouns and 8Point and people like this, if we have an internal partner, we can then even ask for grants related to this stuff as well, right? So that's something to note as well. So it all starts with a connection and a relationship. So that's the big thing. And I got some Noun swag yesterday that I was wearing at the ETO, and it is good swag, right? Like people love it, and it's Nouns is doing it like they're probably the top DAO is brand kind of DAO. So it is a really good thought because it is as well leaning into our hypothesis that DAOs are brands. All right, moving on. We will go into which legal structure will we use. So the Panama Foundation, essentially the bylaws are just waiting for me to review. I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to review them this week. They should be relatively easy to review because I've already done a big review on the previous one, and this is the update. We shall see. The U.S. entity, I had Hiro Kennelly, or Hiro Kennelly, I'm not really sure how you pronounce it, and he refuses to take a stand on how to pronounce his name, but he is a lawyer working in the U.S., and I poked him and asked if he could help me set up a wholly owned U.S. subsidiary for our Panama Foundation. And the reason why this is important is because if we're going to make a deal with any card provider, we need a U.S. entity. In fact, it's probably one of the first things that they're going to ask for. So that's why we need to move this work forward, and I'm hoping that Hiro will help us get that done. How can we make our system extremely easy to use now? I don't want to put you on the spot again, Anafant, but Hazu's not here. Do you know how Hazu's doing on the product development and user testing side of things?
Right, no worries. I'm not sure, but I was planning to be here on the meeting so I can catch up with Yasu later and decide on what comes next so I can start helping.
Nice. Yeah, and I am also on this front trying to get some technical documentation from the card provider, and I'm meant to, I haven't done it yet, but I meant to create a wireframe for the proof of concept as well, which I haven't started yet. Honestly, it probably is not going to get started this week, which means it's not going to get started next week, but, don't let me being a blocker block anyone from doing anything. Anifant or Hazu, if they want to start wireframes or specking, feel free. That's definitely something we can do. But the idea for the proof of concept is it's going to be the lowest effort thing that we can build while still building something that we're proud of.
Awesome.
All right. Looking at our task perspective, we looked at our milestones. Now on to the tasks. I will not upgrade, but we have, oh yeah, I forgot I have to duplicate this. As usual, I've forgotten to duplicate this. I will duplicate this task, and I believe it is ISO week number. Darn it. Here we go. Week 33. All right, here we go. So as that is duplicating, we will look at Gitcoin. So this is going on. We already applied for the round. Just FYI on this, and this is something that reminds me, NF Thinker, I used one of my personal wallets to do this because we needed to get it out on a certain date. But ultimately, what we really need to do is start an Optimism multisig. So I haven't done this yet because there are some issues with the multisig and I need to get everyone's Optimism addresses. But there's some issues with starting an Optimism multisig. All this to say, I'm going to create a new task, which is under here, create an OP multisig. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. If you need a hand at all with that, just let me know as well.
Okay, sounds good.
It's Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, makes sense to me. And are we going to have the same exact signers on that?
Well, that's one of the things I want to discuss because both Renee and Bo are inactive. So I don't want to add two inactive addresses to our new multisig. And maybe that means we need to have a multisig election. But I don't want to replace me, you, or Sam because we just went through the process of creating that Panama Foundation. So it's something that I wanted to discuss with you, NF Thinker, and as well the rest of the team. And I have a meeting with Sam as well to discuss it a little bit later this week. But in general, we want to make sure that our multisig is secure, and we want to make sure that everyone on there is active and value aligned. So this is something that, it's important enough that I'm going to take it away from here and put it here. Where did that go? I could have swore. Oh, here it is. Okay, there it is. Create an OP multisig project. And then success criteria. We always like to have success criteria when we're creating new tasks. Create an OP multisig, ensure that all addresses are active. So we'll see what this means for us. But in general, it's something that we have to think about. And it's good that the Gitcoin grant round kind of put us in, kind of forced our hand a little bit. So we have the Gitcoin grant round, success criteria. We are live on Gitcoin grants. We have a campaign running to send donors to our page for donations. So you're working on this, NF Thinker?
On which part?
On the Gitcoin grants?
Yeah, working with getting it approved with Jenga Jojo.
Okay. Grant is submitted, but not approved at NF Thinker. Is working with Jenga Jojo to get us approved. All right, here we go. Next up in the inbox, create a Delaware C Corp. I put this in because Hiro Canelli is working on this right now, so I'm going to go ahead and put this down here. It's pretty important because we have this potential deal, and we don't want the deal to go south because we're missing our U.S. legal entity. Launch a proof of concept. This is going to be assigned to me, but I'm going to leave this in the inbox for now because I want to process it, doing all these milestones and putting them into Asana properly. We have the funding needed to launch a proof of concept. Again, this is something that I'm working on this week. The updates were the updates I already gave earlier in the meeting. I'll put this into this week as well. But ultimately, if we can reduce the kind of funding that we need down to $10,000, that is way more doable. So we'll see how we can go on there, but definitely something that is interesting. I'm going to put this optimism multisig, I guess a little bit further down than some of these things, but we'll put it here. All right, next up, done. Update and share strategy docs. Thank you so much for the people who gave feedback to me on the playbook. Coffee Crusher, especially thanks to you because I think you were the most in-depth. I didn't answer your comments in the doc itself, but I think we had a few conversations which answered a lot of those questions. Does that make sense? Did you want me to answer those questions in the doc?
No, I think we're okay. It's just, I'm hoping that it helped. It's just, I think it's going to be a working doc, right? Like we're going to keep on.
Yeah, it is a working doc. I try to update it every season, so it's version 4 right now. And I also think that like one of the things is that I have a live version and a working doc version. The live version is because we publicly share our strategy doc with anyone who wants to see, since we build in public. So that live version, when I copied over, it removes your comments, which is also why I mentioned that.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, by leaving the comments in there in the internal version, I guess I'll call it, it just sort of as we, as over time, it's kind of like making sure that we sort of address all those things, or just, be aware of those things as the project progresses. So it's kind of like a timestamp of some of the questions that came to me just as a new person.
Yes, absolutely. And we have those in the previous working docs too. Like we have a V3 that has a bunch of questions from Lil Broho, and a V2 that has a bunch of questions from Sam J and NF Thinker. So it's really, absolutely agree with you that having that history is really important.
Perfect.
All right, so we completed that. Amazing. Blocked waiting needs feedback. The Creative Foundation, actually, this is something that is something that we can work on now. So it's no longer blocked on an external entity. This blocked section is for when it is someone external to the team that we're talking about that is blocking us. So now the ball's in my court. We're back into this week. So I'll try to get it done this week. I did promise our lawyers in Panama that I would do it this week, so I'll try to get it done. A lot of stuff on my plate this week, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, it's just that the week is so short. But we will go through them one by one. Eva Nera, in general, I poked them. Victor said that they would get us a program manager assigned to us. So I think that they're a little bit slow in responding, but hopefully we will get them going. We have the funding needed to launch a POC. As discussed before, we don't have that funding yet, but we do have our Gitcoin grants going. We do have our Gnosis grants going. We do have our SAFE grants in the works. And we are also looking at reducing the cost of our POC through a US-based card provider as well. So that's where we're at over there. Creative Foundation, I just spoke about this. I need to update the bylaws, or I need to review the bylaws. Gitcoin grants round, we just talked about this. Delaware C Corp, we just talked about this. Hey, Manus.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have my mic muted, and Andy came in the room and started talking.
No worries. Well, we have our guerrilla marketing cards at ETH Toronto. I am working on this. I did hand out a bunch of them. I don't think I'm going to hand out all of the cards, so I'll probably keep some for other in-person events that are running in Toronto a little bit later, but I'll try my best to get us going. I will say that the audience at ETH Toronto is very not DAO. So we'll see what happens, but in general, like I speak to people about DAOs and they're like, they have panic in their eyes and they want to move on to someone else. They don't want to speak to me about DAOs. So all this to say, I will do my best, but I'm not sure how well I'll do. Run payroll, this is done. So I'm going to put this into the done section and mark it as complete. Boom, boom. We have our trans card. So this is the meeting that we had. The next step on this is to kind of review the structure of the document and see how we can make this deal potentially better for us, renegotiate other kinds of things. So yeah, that's what we're working on now. And B for you, this is, this is essentially another potential provider and connector of other people in the industry. He's putting us through our paces on this sales pitch deck. Someone who's very knowledgeable in the industry through Lord Elvic's connections as well. So we met with him late last week. He gave us a laundry list of feedback, but he was also very positive on what we're doing. So we're going to keep moving with that. Basically, we need to update the 5-pager next. So I'll just put that here, update 5-pager based on Jack's feedback. All right, website V2, unfortunately, I have not gotten to this. It's really unfortunate. I think both Sticklow and Tom Tranmer kind of messaged me about this. Would one of the two of you be willing to kind of take this task on? I know I didn't give you the best information here, but I can update these so that it is a little bit more clear what needs to be done, if that helps.
Yeah, for sure. I can take a look at it this week. The couple small issues that I think you were noting don't look like they'd be too difficult to get in place right away. The question I would ask with the Google Analytics API key is if you do have access to just that key code that we will need, if you could pop that into Asana, I could use it there.
Sure. I actually think you may have access to the Google, because I think you made it for Taxman, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. I will look for it, but like
I'll double check that for sure.
But yes, I can definitely get you that code as well. Hey, Sticklow, I saw you unmuted as well. Oh, did you unmute? Was that someone else?
No, it was me. I wanted to add to Tom that my friend here, Jonathan, who's a new member of Bankless Card. He's a coder and he is ready to help out in any area necessary. So if there are any issues with the website that needs checking and stuff like that, he's ready to contribute. I think he messaged you, but yeah, wanted to point that out.
I think I got him in my DMs. Hey, Jonathan, great to meet you. Yeah, if you want to jam on this website chat after the call today, we can have a little DMs back and forth. I personally haven't been hands-on with the code base yet, but when we take a peek, I'm sure we can figure out what we got to do to get pieces in place.
Bill was also interested in the website. He just wrote it down in the chat. So if you wanted to include him as well, that would be great. You can just talk in the, I can even just create like a little thread for you guys, or there already exists a thread rather under Bankless Card. So maybe I'll just tag everyone in that thread.
Perfect. Web working group assemble.
All right, I'll create that. Oh yeah, actually, you know what? There is a landing page one right now, but yes, in general, like web working group is a good way to put it as well, because you know it's not just the website; it's also Taxman as well. So, Jonathan. Jonathan, I don't know if you have the right tags for this one, but I will add you a little bit later. All right, thanks, Tom. I appreciate you taking that for me. Definitely helps me out a little. Create an OP multisig. We talked about this. Go-to-market strategy doc. How's this going, Coffee Crusher?
So the go-to-market. So that's one of the things I want to sort of talk about within a figure, because it changes a little bit with some of the strategies. I know the SMBs and so forth, but I'm starting to try to get my hands wrapped around what would be the best. You know, there's the long-term strategy, short-term strategy, and then how do we promote? Because the idea originally was to go after SMBs and sort of do, you know, promotional launches. But, you know, like with Anna Thinker's comment about, you know, there's a cost associated. So that, you know, I've got to be mindful of, you know, the marketing, launching costs, etc. So I have to sort of get a good wrap of what makes the biggest impact for the lowest dollars, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, great. Can I ask you to put an update in there as well in that, because you said a lot of stuff. I guess I could try to, you know what? Let me try to write it down.
I think we could probably meet tomorrow if that's okay with you, Coffee Crusher.
Yes, I've got stuff, like on West Coast time, so I've got stuff going on in the morning, but I'll ping you
after this call and see what your availability looks like, if that's okay.
Yeah, I gotta get fit a lot of stuff in tomorrow, as I won't be around Friday, so I can work a bit later tomorrow. So that's all good. And then we can also talk about other super secret stuff then too.
Right. Exactly. Got lots to talk about. Okay, cool.
Awesome. All right. Customer journey maps. Rainus, how is this going?
As far as I showed you last week.
I haven't gotten around it, but we have it started. So yeah, not much progress, but
Maybe you can put the link in Asana so that we have a way to refer back to it.
oh yeah, I had to set it up on our media Bankless Card email. Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now.
Cool. All right. I'll just put it in here. Set up the Figma with our media at banklesscard.xyz. All right. Safety out grants. This is starting to become a little bit more important now that the grants are officially live. So I'll put in the same as Gitcoin grants. You know what? I'm going to put a little bit lower than the Delaware C Corp because I think that's important. And obviously this is going on as well. Okay. So safety out grants are on. In general, not quite sure how this is shaping up yet, but we're going to have to take a look at it this week. Let's speak about it during the ops meet. NF Thinker.
They just launched it now. So you see in the description there below where it says intent submitted, there's the grant application. And they just like 10 minutes ago, he just posted that in the channel.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
Yeah, so that's live. So we just need to fill that out now.
Okay. Until September 6th. Okay, so it's not a huge rush at least, which is good. And then we can go there. All right, cool. Amazing. All right, let us move down a little bit further. Okay, so next we have customer journey. Oh, we talked about that. Create a way to set the date range. I think Tom Tramler said he was going to BRB. We are running out of time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these things to next up because I don't think they're happening right now. I'm going to skip over the stuff at the bottom. We went through the kind of top 10, which is great. And I just want to get into the what did we ship last week? Because I think that this is a really great thing to see what people are actually doing around the organization. So I submitted a Gnosis Chain funding application, and if Thinker and I met with Transcard to get us a card deal, and we have an offer of service, which we talked about. I printed some business cards and handed them out at ETO, more happening today. Thanks to Rainus and NF Thinker for making the business card. Files, let's call them. I updated the live playbook with the draft from V4. I updated the 5-page sales deck. We also met with B4U and gathered a ton of feedback that we are going to use to update the 5-pager. I created a Gitcoin grant for us to grab donations. NF Thinker is working with Jenga Jojo to get us cleared, which is great. NF Thinker created a DAO hit list. Bobo created a 3D model for contributors with some guidance from NF Thinker, and it is lovely, in case you haven't seen it. What a great looking contributor badge. Look at that. Lovely.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Just a quick update on that. We're going to wait for a little bit of feedback from Hasu and see what she thinks. See if we need to make any changes to the brand, design, whatever. And then what we'll do is using that template, we'll be able to hopefully just swap out a contributor with something like early supporter or something along those lines, maybe even change the logo color. And then we'll be able to send those out to people who've signed up on the email list. This will be the beginning of our on-chain goodies.
All right, so I pulled on-chain goodies from the next up into the currently this week section, and I'm also going to link to Bobo's amazing copy message link. I'm going to link to this here. Boom. Nice, amazing work, Bobo. It looks so good. I really love it. So thanks for that. Moving down a little bit further, we have our discussion items. Honestly, we have 3 minutes, so not much time for discussion, but does anyone have anything that they want to discuss right now?
The thing that's top of mind for me is how we could incentivize non-token communities to be launch partners, because I do think Nouns DAO would be a fantastic partner. So what would we offer them? Would we go straight in and say, okay, we can do some sort of merch deal with you guys to give your friends some novels or whatever it is you want to reward them with? Or Indian flatbread? Yes, non-token communities, that's the one. And yeah, just basically figure out how we can think outside the box on this one, because as we saw with ENS, as we've been seeing with other communities, they're not all specifically governance token related communities like Bankless DAO is, but that doesn't mean they're any less brand aligned.
Yeah, so I will mention, like, Moonbrains has been trying to get into the Nouns community a little bit recently, and I don't think it would be, if you get the right internal sponsor, you don't necessarily need to worry about how excited they'll be, because last week's community call was centered around Noun branded bidets.
Okay.
So, I mean, a Noun-branded credit card would be amazing for them already. I feel like we could get them on board if we had the right internal sponsor. But someone was pitching Noun-branded bidets. In case you don't know what a bidet is, it's essentially a little bit of like, it's like a water gun that you attach to a toilet to clean your butt. So that's what they're doing over at Nouns. All this to say that they're excited for Nouns brand to be used in the real world, and us just creating like a very slick and desirable card. I think a lot of people would be pumped to have that. And then if we also kicked back saying that there's like, you're gonna be able to earn Noun swag using that card or other things, like there are some angles that we can definitely use. All just to say that, like, for Noun specifically, I think that we could, if we had the right connection, we could make it work.
Well, Salman Needs a Job has had an approved proposal in there with Lil Nouns, and he says he has a contact that he could share if we wanted to chase that up. So I'll let him know that we do, and then if we get another one from Mean Brains as well, that's great too.
Awesome. Hey, Coffee Crusher, I saw that you unmuted.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about like what are the things. So BFF definitely is all about their swag. Like they promote their swag, their real life swag as part of the newsletters and all that. The other thing is Crypto Chicks is all about like you buy your PFPs, and I think it's more of a question, do we have the ability, or are we thinking of the ability for someone to customize it to put your own PFP on your card?
So yes and no. The long answer is that for every different card design we have, we would, like physical card design that we have, we would need to spend, it would be another card program entirely. So we wouldn't be able to do it for the physical branded card necessarily yet, at least not at launch. But it is possible to do like on-demand card printing if we have the right partner, and also digital cards allow you to customize with your PFP and this kind of thing. So a digital card, like on your phone.
Yeah, and that might be totally appropriate for Crypto Chicks. Like a digital card. Because their big thing is I mean, everybody like is so into their PFPs that they get, because that's their proof of being part of that community, is you have to have one of those that you buy from the collection. So, and they're always showing their PFPs. I mean, it's a big deal to them. So it's possible with the community. I think it's going to take, it's kind of looking at identifying the communities and figuring out what's really important to them. That I'm talking about these non-token communities, and sort of figuring out what would be super desirable by that community, And in this case, Crypto Chicks is all about their PFPs.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that we're a bit over, but definitely had a great discussion today. I just want to take a little bit of time out to say thank you. Thank you to everyone. I really, there's some really great news this week with the potential grants that are coming in, with the potential ways that we can launch this card. Lots of stuff is happening. I mean, I'm smelling a little bit of whiffs of the bull market coming. So, let's be ready at Bankless Card. We kind of were building through the bear because we wanted to get to the point where we were able to go into a bull with this card going. We really wanted to be at the forefront so that we could be onboarding new people to crypto. So it is coming. It is coming, and it's coming probably sooner than we think. So thank you to everyone who's putting work in, all the things that you're doing. I love to hear Raina say things like, this week we're focusing on content production. That just shows me that there's some thought that is being put into this, there's some work that's being put into this, and this is what is going to take us to the next level. So I appreciate all of you, everyone who's putting work into this. As long as we move forward week after week, we're eventually going to be where we want to be. So thanks, everyone. I really appreciate you all, and have a great week.
Cheers, everybody.